Welcome to another episode of CMOTalk. I am back here with Shelly Kramer, my co-host, and this is a special edition because we are actually doing a pre-wrap show event for Mobile World Congress, which I will be attending next week, and we have a special guest as well, Patrick Moorhead. But before I introduce Patrick, Shelly, how are you this morning?
You know, I'm great. We already talked about the fact that before this show, I got to do exciting things like make school lunches and braid hair and all that. And what we're laughing about is that, you know, women get up and do all that stuff, and you guys just get up and start working.
Oh, Shelly.
No,
Well,
good morning, everybody. It's great to be here, and I'm super excited to talk to Patrick because he's smart, and conversations with him always feed my inner geek, and so I think we're all going to learn a lot.
Yeah, for our audience that know Shelly and I, you know that we like to have a bit of this type of discourse, but Patrick hasn't actually had to witness this yet. So we are joined today. So Patrick Moorhead, he was my esteemed co-host in crime at Dell World 2014, and that's actually where he and I met. And we've continued, a good dialogue.
Bromance.
I call it a good dialogue. You call it a bromance over the last few months. And Patrick is a very, very well-regarded analyst and insights strategist, and he's an owner of More Insights and Strategy down there in Austin, Texas. Patrick, good morning and welcome to CMOTalk.
How are you guys? Thanks for having me on. And Daniel, I got to say, you know, you left this indelible mark on my brain co-hosting Dell World with you. And, you know, the bromance continues. So
hey, if you want to call it that, I'll let it go.
I woke up early for this. I mean,
don't get jealous, Shelly. So as you see, for all the audience out there, we like to have a lot of fun on CMOTalk, but we are really, really excited. So, you know, just a couple of days from now, we're going to be getting in a plane and spending about, anywhere from 12 to 18 hours, some of us business class, some of us stuff back in coach, trying to get from where I am here in Chicago to beautiful Barcelona. But for me, it's my first time at the event. Patrick, being a native to Mobile World Congress, has done this a few times before. But Patrick, before you jump in and we talk specifically about Mobile World and some of the mobile expectations, just give us a quick introduction of yourself, a better one than I did. Tell us a little bit about More, plug yourself, and what you guys do so that our audience can get to know you a little bit, since they're going to be hearing more from you over the next week.
Thanks, Daniel. So I run a company, and I founded it about 4 years ago. It's called More Insights and Strategy. And what it is, it's a boutique analyst firm, and boutique is code for small. We are a 10-person shop, but we cover everything from Internet of Things, mobility, PCs, data center technology, and cloud. And essentially what I did is I pulled people from that I knew in the past who either were from product backgrounds, strategy backgrounds, even marketing backgrounds. And what I like to joke is that I actually had a real job before I became an analyst. I spent around 10 years in products and strategy in PCs and servers. Spent another 10 years in the chip industry in marketing and products and also strategy. And in the interim, did my obligatory internet startup at Alta Vista. Controlled upwards of $200 million in marketing budget at one time. So as it relates to your audience, hopefully I can relate to them pretty well here.
Absolutely, and I'm kind of wishing I'd have known you when you had that $200 million budget. That would have done a lot more for this relationship. But yeah, for everyone out there though, having spent several days on set with Patrick and getting to know him when the cameras were off, he does have a really, really good perspective on the technology future. He's good at talking about kind of where we're at, but also where we're going. And just yesterday, Shelly, you and I had recorded an episode about marketing and technology and why marketers, if they want to be taken seriously by the C-suite, especially the CIO suite in this whole convergence that's going on, they've got to get more tech savvy. We talked about a lot about big data and analytics. We talked about a little bit about Internet of Things. We talked about cloud. And one of the things we spent a lot of time kind of rapping about was mobile. Shelly, not just mobile marketing, but about actually understanding mobile for untethering employees, mobile for connecting workforces, for employee engagement, for communication and collaboration. So what do you think, Shell? Do you think maybe, given we're going to mobile world, that we should ping Pat a little bit to talk about mobile today and what he sees coming up in the show?
I think that would be awesome. And I think that what would be helpful for our audience, Patrick, you're well acquainted with the mobile world and what a big deal it is. But if you could talk about a little bit about the show and what kind of a big deal it is in the world of mobility, and then maybe talk a little bit about, I know you've been an attendee for a number of years, but talk to us a little bit, if you would, about some of the emerging tech that you've seen as a result of attending this show, and then so talk about that, and then we also then want to go down the path of what are you excited about this year? What do you think you're going to be seeing, that sort of thing? So we'd love to hear more on that.
That sounds fun. So a little bit of background here. So Mobile World Congress is essentially the gathering, as you would expect, of all things mobile, and it really hits on multiple angles. It hits on the carrier angle, so the AT&Ts, the Telefonica, people like that. It hits in all the equipment makers and services that go into that, but also on the device side. So whether it's smartwatches, smartphones, tablets, anything you can carry around that's untethered. And as Daniel said, it's in Barcelona, and the reason it's in Barcelona was that for decades, actually, Western Europe was ahead of the rest of the world in wireless. So they were the first with digital, as an example. You remember how big Nokia used to be. So essentially, it's hundreds of thousands of your best mobile friends in one place. Eating ham and cheese, a lot of it.
Ham and cheese, that's the food du jour, huh?
It is, yeah. Manchego cheese, you walk in there and literally you will see a leg of a ham, no, a leg of a pig, actually sitting there with the fur on it, where they will cut it back and slice ham right in her plate. I know. Imagine that, okay?
I can't believe I'm going to have to stay here and miss that. That's terrible. I do like Manchego cheese, though, so that's awesome. So what have you seen so we know that Mobile World Congress is this gathering of, people that are immersed in this space. Okay, so tell us, maybe just from last year, because I don't expect you to remember, because I know you're, old like me, and I don't expect you to remember, beyond 1 year ago, but maybe talk a little bit about some of the emerging trends that we saw when you attended last year, to help us get an idea of kind of some of the stuff that goes on there, besides the ham and cheese.
Okay, we can talk about that more later if you'd like. But yeah, so last year it was all things wearable devices, wearable services. Everybody came to the table with Google's Android, where you had Samsung, you had LG, you had HTC. And a lot of fitness band makers come there and show everybody their latest widgets. So that was really what stole the show. Now, on the carrier side is this concept. It's called network function virtualization, but essentially it's helping telcos be a lot more flexible and responsive to their internal needs, but more importantly, their customer needs, and the ability to get services up and running very quickly. So those were really the two hot items at the show.
Yeah, I think that's actually really interesting, Pat, though, because you start to hear about these things like wearables, and a CMO might be going, well, what's that got to do with my business and my enterprise? Or you'll hear things about NFV, and you're going, okay, so higher customer quality. Is that a marketer's issue? Is that an issue for a business outcome? And I think both of those things actually really are. Just last week, or just these past few days, you published an article on CIO about wearables in the enterprise. That's a great example, though, of wearables have kind of started out as a consumer function, something that consumers are interested in. How many steps have I taken each day? But we've talked about sensors, and IoT devices, helping companies save money on power, helping them become more secure by using proximity to keep people logged in. So that's just one example how these kind of widgets and gadgets started out as a consumerized topic and could quickly become a marketing and enterprise solution. Have you seen a little bit of that? I know I'm going a little off script, but you immediately caught my attention.
Not at all. I mean, from a marketer's perspective, I look at it from two different angles in a wearable. So first of all, with a wearable, you're now essentially being able to tap into the activities of somebody literally 24/7. Now, there's a lot of privacy things we're going to have to get through, but essentially, in an untethered world, there was a limited amount of things that you could understand about people. In the mobile world, there was a lot higher degree of context and information. In a wearable world, it's even more, because instead of putting that smartphone on the side of the bed, you're actually wearing that wearable in bed. So literally 24/7, if you had access to that information, you'd have a much better idea about the target customer.
Right, so you're basically creating data around the clock, which again comes back to the heart of a business leader, a data leader, and a marketing leader, because they're constantly trying to use data. What could I garner from somebody's sleep behavior that could ultimately sell something to them? I mean, there is a lot of marketing implication going on here. The NFV side that you mentioned is also very, very interesting, because with so many people connecting via mobile, just yesterday in our last recording, Shelly and I talked about how people's expectation of a mobile experience is virtually the same as a desktop experience now. So people do not bode well when they cannot connect mobile. Meaning you go to your website, they use your application. If there's any hiccups in it, they're not like 10 years ago where they might be like, oh, it's mobile, it's okay. I'll go check out their desktop later. They're like, I'm out. These people don't get it. I'm mobile, I'm on the run. So there are huge implications. Well, you kind of the geek side of you wants to talk about it from a connectivity standpoint or from a data standpoint. Really, these have huge business implications.
Yeah, so something that we take for granted is, so first of all, a lot of carriers are offering services, okay? Not just being the dumb pipe that you connect to wirelessly, but intelligent business service as well. And essentially, what we take for granted is that, oh, it's going to be there 24/7 and up. And what this NFV technology does is enables telcos to move power around, move services around, almost at a flip the switch, where before using this technology, you might have to wait days or weeks to get that service up and running, which is pretty much a nightmare. And in the grand scheme of all this data center technology, networking is the last service to be automated, and something that needs to improve.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, one thing that was running through my mind when we were talking about wearables, and that I think to me is particularly fascinating, is what it says about consumer behavior. Okay, because what has happened is that we've had this mass adoption by ordinary average people of all walks of life. It doesn't matter if you're affluent or not. I mean, everybody in the world is wearing some kind of a trackable device, and they're opting in to all of this data being collected about their sleep habits, about how many steps they're walking, and to me, that's really fascinating. And to see the conversations that happen on Facebook, where my friends are talking about, you know, how many, but to me, that's a lot of insight into how consumers think and how we are quick to say, I want to be a part of that. And I don't think I think that we're having conversations about security and that sort of thing. But, you know, take that a step further and think about if your health insurance company or if your employer was privy to that data that's being collected as a result of your wearable, all of a sudden it's like, oh, okay, I hadn't thought about that. But I do think that from a consumer behavior standpoint, to me, that's fascinating as we see so many people opting into this. And I think that the data that we're collecting using these devices is going to continue to grow and grow and grow, and where that data ultimately will be housed. I do something. I take my blood pressure on a regular, or my heart rate, on a regular basis, and I store that. And so it's just, to me, that's interesting. Long-term health, long-term security, long-term privacy. I think those are pretty interesting issues.
Yeah. Go ahead, David.
I was thinking. Oh, he forgot my name.
Whatever your name is.
Sometimes he just calls me dude, so that's okay. The question I was going to kind of fire back at Patrick is, in the past, because privacy has become a huge conversation in the last couple of years, but in the mainstream in the last year, I've seen a ton. I've written on Forbes about it. I've seen it all over CIO. Is that there really is no privacy on the internet or with the Internet of Things? Are the carriers and the mobile device makers? Is there a lot of conversation going on behind the scenes about this privacy thing? Are they taking it really seriously, or are they sitting in back room eating ham legs and special cheese and just kind of giggling about the fact that people are so willing to be the product so long as the service is for free?
Daniel, that's a great question, and interestingly enough, really two leaders have evolved in this concept of a health data bank, and they're doing a heck of a lot of thinking about this with employers, with insurance companies, and with people like that, and those two are Apple and Microsoft. So you have Apple Health Kit and you have Microsoft Health Vault, which essentially are opt-in places where you can store all of this data. Now, Apple is well ahead of the curve, where literally on a data point by data point, you can select what you want to share and who you want to share it with. And I think we have to give Apple credence on, typically they're ahead of the curve in knowing what consumers want before they actually know they want it.
Right.
I kind of liken privacy and consumers to the boiling frog theory, which is, over time you keep moving up the heat and people won't notice. It's very different when it comes to healthcare, and I think Shell, you hit on that. So I actually think through this education of consumers and training them on what they can share and what they don't share is going to heighten that level of awareness that there's stuff that I want to share and there's stuff that I don't want to share. But
right.
like we've seen for decades, it's a what the benefit that I get versus what I can give back to you.
Right.
And that's
how easy is it? I think everything about what we share in the online space, whether it's autofill on our computers or whatever it is we do, it's like, screw this, I don't want to have to fill all this stuff in, or
right.
It's just easier for me to give up to sign in using Twitter than it is to set up a separate account or whatever. So I think that'll be really interesting. Okay, so now since I started us down that path, I want to pull us back. Okay. And I want to talk about, because we could have a whole show about this, and I think it's tremendously fascinating, but I want to pull us back and I want to talk about what you're excited about this year. Last year it was wearables. What are you thinking is going to be the big deal and don't worry, we won't make fun of you if you're totally wrong because you're just an analyst. But no, we'd love to know what you're thinking about. What's going to be the big deal this year at Mobile World?
Yeah, so I firmly believe that with trade shows, you have trade shows that bring out new things you've never seen before, that, by the way, won't actually deliver for the next couple of years, or where they actually deliver what they said they were going to deliver. And I think this is a delivery show. So what I'm really excited about is features in the endpoints, or the smartphones, the watches, or the tablets that were premium. And let's say a phone, our iPhones actually cost us $1,000, not $199. Those features will be available in phones that are $399 or $299. And what's exciting about that is we're going to see this big boost in mid-range devices that are going to be sold that'll have things like 4K video, LTE. Yeah, I know we take this for granted in the U.S. and the phones that we had, but all over the world, LTE is a relatively a new phenomena. So just much better phone experiences, not having to pay a whole lot of money, which, by the way, then enable all those services that we take for granted today, but to billions of people.
I think that's some terrific insights. Our friends at Dell connected me up with a company called Videolicious, and I'm going to actually be marching the floor, doing interviews with some different executives, not only from Dell, but from across mobile world. And this is basically an application with the combination of a selfie stick, or you just basically holding the phone out there, that can instantly capture high-definition video, include title cards, include instant editing and upload, to allow us to basically be sending back and streaming what I would call near broadcast quality video right off of anywhere from a couple $100 to a $600-700 mobile device or tablet, and we're going to be basically creating content and content and content. So marketers should love this, but it's really, what I'm talking about is the power of this device. We basically have a computer tethered to our leg, and we have applications now that are powering mobile video that allow some guy with an iPhone or a Dell tablet or any of these things to basically create broadcast quality video from Barcelona and have it up on your social networks and up on your YouTube page in like 2 minutes. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. And Patrick, I'm going to be dragging you into a few of these things when you're in between meetings. But the point is, like, if you think about what we're doing here, remote is mobility is powering us to do this from anywhere in the world. So I like hearing it's a delivery show. I always, I love the CESs and stuff. It's so much of what you see there. It's like I'm going to be like 50 by the time that delivers.
Yeah.
So this is a CEO, CMO focused conversation. We do like to get to business outcomes a little bit, and we've been geeking out here, but we've been sneaking them in there. Let's talk a little bit about business and marketing transformation. We're in the middle of digital transformation, but from the new deliverables that you're going to see this year and the deliverables you've seen over the past few years, talk about a few of what I would say the major business and marketing transformations that mobility is driving, and how brands are seeing around the corner, like I like to say.
Yeah, I would say the biggest one that I'd keep my eye on is it's called LTE broadcast, which essentially is the ability for somebody to broadcast content or ads directly to the phone, okay, literally from the tower inside a certain range. So, for instance, if you're at an event, a football game or a hockey game, LTE broadcast gives the ability for advertisers and content producers to send direct content, not even requiring a sign-up. It's based on geofencing, and what that does is you have immediate context, right? You want to talk to 100,000 people who are at the game. You want to talk to 200,000 people who are at the city event. It's a direct link to that mobile device.
Which is awesome, because then you start thinking about the dollars that are involved in terms of advertisers and marketers and how you can reach, because we're all looking for a better way to more closely tap our targeted audience. So this is highly targeted. I think as a marketer, that makes me somewhat giddy at the very thought.
Yeah, the sports marketers are going crazy.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Think of a NASCAR event. You literally have this captive audience, okay, where you can send them because they're in your geofence. You can send them direct information to their mobile devices without having to do 27 different signups to get in, and also fitting within the content restrictions that are so darn important to people. So, for instance, you could do this today, but you have to prove that you're at the event. You might have to put your ticket number in there. Okay, you might have to put your email address in, which I know is valuable. But if you're really trying to get information to everybody that's going to that event, LTE broadcast is a great way to do this.
It's funny.
Very awesome.
as a kind of a former AV geek in unified communications, collaboration, I've talked a lot about digital signage over the years. And I've said this for a while because what we've got going on is a second screen, third screen, first screen debate, right? So at events, they had the Jumbotrons, and they had the big TVs they put everywhere and the over-the-head, but nobody is listening to any of that anymore. People are walking around with headphones in their ears. So they're not listening to the marketing that's being put out there. They're looking at their devices. They're not looking at these screens that are being created anymore. They're actually trying to have that instant engagement, and they want it to be fully personalized, kind of going back to that one-to-one marketing. So this is like the ultimate combination of one-to-one marketing and geographic marketing that the future CMOs and business leaders can take advantage of to make sure you are putting targeted messaging in front of an audience no matter where they are. And I think that's really, really powerful, not just for marketers, but for businesses and the evolution and how they transform digitally.
Absolutely. You know what I think about? I think about, Shelly, I know that you just ate a funnel cake. Let me bring you another beer. Right?
No, this is exactly right. And you know, this whole concept of iBeacons, which essentially is something that is very, when you're very close, but it doesn't have the range of it. You know, so if you're in Central Park and there's a you know, half off hot dogs, right, at 6 o'clock in the evening, and you're about to shut down, sending that message to the thousands of people who are in Central Park that says, come and get it, right?
Yeah. You know, first come, first serve, and when they're gone, they're gone. But you know what? If you were looking for a quick snack, I got 10 hot dogs left. Here you go, $1 a piece. You know, talk about a way to move inventory at the end of events. Think how much like food at sporting events get thrown away. You know, just how much.
Yeah, but talk about how that impacts consumers in a couple of different ways, because we're also looking at, you know, when we're talking about a millennial generation, we're talking about people who are socially conscious, for whom the thought of wasted food seems stupid, you know, and who like a deal and all that sort of thing. So I think that those kind of things are really exciting.
I love that we even crossed into generational topics here.
Exactly.
So as the millennial, I'll let it slide. So as we kind of, you know, come to a close here, and really it's been a great conversation. So excited to head out to Barcelona, Pat. I'm so excited to spend some time with you out there as well. But okay, people pay you to actually give them insights about what's 5 or 10 years out. So everyone likes to coin the term futurist on their LinkedIn profile, but I say until somebody actually pays you for your perspective on what's going to happen in the future, that's just a term that's probably littering your profile. So the little plug there, but I want you to get a little bit imaginative. Give me 1 or 2 things in your mind that's going to, beyond the one you just shared, because I think that's actually probably closer to coming than we think. What's the mobile space going to maybe look like in 5 or 10 years if you had to give us one guess?
Yeah, so 2 things there is, you know, the great part going 5 to 10 years out is, you know, maybe we'll be doing this podcast in 5 to 10 years. I don't know. You can call me on it. But no, the technology that currently fits in our hands, or let's say on our wrists or on our faces, is literally going to be pulled into the fabric of our lives, literally. You're going to have the technology. It's going to be so small, so cheap, that it's going to be in our clothes. It's going to be integrated into your glasses, and I'm not even going to know it. Okay? And that really is, if you think about it, a marketer's dream. Okay? In that people are going to be more open with their information, right? Because they've had 5 to 10 years to do the benefit, I give you my information trade-off. But the other piece is you get into attitudes. What marketers really don't know is at that moment, what is their mood? Are they happy? Are they sad? The new technology and the new sensors coming out will be able to let you know, is this person happy? Are they sad? What kind of mood are they in? And I think that point of ad, or that point of insertion of a brand, is going to be even more precise than it is today. And I think, you know, through, you know, it's an oxymoron, kind of a marketing science here, we're going to be able to figure out what is the best time to put something in front of somebody, and what should that look like. And that's got to be exciting to CEOs, CMOs out there.
On a person-to-person basis, that's what's the most exciting.
So they can basically dig into the details using sensor technology, figure out based on skin temperatures and sweat and things like that in your clothes. Are you happy, sad, hot, cold? I mean, it's pretty amazing.
Dance in a good mood. We'll sell him today. We'll sell him right now. Yeah, no, I think that's really you know, it's funny. It's just like when you talk about personalized search, or you know how search engines are really so contextual these days, and you start talking to people about it, and it creeps them out to think about Google or any search engine really knowing what they're thinking about. Well, this is the same thing. It's kind of good and terrible for people like us. It's like, this is so cool to be able to dial into that. It's really, we talk a lot about one-to-one marketing. I mean, this is one-to-one relationship marketing personified, which is good and creepy as hell.
Well, pretty soon it's going to be like a human mood ring. Like you could walk up to somebody, talk to them, and their forehead will turn green if they're interested in continuing the conversation. So we've got to wrap up here. Patrick, Shelly, you guys, as always, have been terrific here on CMOTalk. I want to thank our friends at Dell for helping make this possible. We are really excited, so we are going to close this one out, push this one live, and jump on a plane and head overseas. But do not miss next week when we actually come to you from the show. More insights from Patrick, more insights from Shelly, and yes, you are going to have to put up with me. But for another episode of CMO Talk, we are out of here.